Hello everyone, it's the Doom Dog. Dalton and I finished playing through Doom 2, and that means it's time for another Doom Dog review. Today we are taking a look at the sequel to one of the best games ever made. Does it live up to those standards of the original? Or does it fall short? Let's take a look at Doom 2: Hell on Earth. Released in late 1993 as a shareware game, Doom was a huge hit for id Software. There was a point in time where the game was installed on more PCs than Windows was, but it did run into a few problems with the shareware model. While a lot of people did buy the game, quite a few others were rather satisfied with just the first episode. Beyond that, John Carmack was working on a new engine at the time for their upcoming game, Quake, and it would once again revolutionize the industry. It needed something in the meantime, and there was demand for a sequel to Doom. Well, we got that sequel on October 10th, 1994, less than a year after the first game. That's a quick turnaround. Did it cost the game? Let's find out. John Carmack once said that the story in games is like story in a porn movie. It's expected to be there, but it's not that important. While a good story can greatly enhance the gaming experience, the Doom games do stand as proof that he is at the very least partially right. Story is not that important in Doom. Doom 2 does have a story though. For what it's worth, here it is. After the events of Doom, Doom Guy is the only survivor left at UAC Labs. He leaves the military and returns home to rest and relax for a while. As soon as he lands though, he notices that the entire city is engulfed in flames. As soon as he steps off his ship, he sees a group of refugees fleeing from the city with what appears to be another group of humans chasing them. He grabs his sidearm and guns them down. They turn out to be zombies with half-eaten flesh hanging out of their mouths. It turns out the demons have found their way to Earth as well, and billions of people are dead. Scientists have built massive ships to carry the survivors off of Earth to safety, but the spaceport has been taken over by the demons. They have built a massive force field around the port, a giant wall of flame, and no ship can take off or land. Humanity sets up a counterattack. Doom Guy grabs his gun and joins in. Things do not go well, and it's all down to Doom Guy to stop the demons and take back the planet. This is the setup for Doom 2. But like the first game, it does not have any cutscenes or text crawls to give this backstory to you. As soon as you start the game, you are placed right into the action. Doom 2, like the first game, has very minimal story. For what it's worth, it does have the occasional text screen, just like at the end of each episode of the first game. These further what little plot there is, but it's nothing special. The story does not matter here. Graphically, it looks like more Doom. This uses the same engine as the first game, so it just looks like more of what you got in that game. This is not a bad thing though, because the sprite work for the first Doom was always good. All of the sprite work for the first game is reused here as you'd expect. This does not really present any leap in graphics over the original game. Just like the original game though, it can look pretty sharp through a modern source port. That's not to say that there's nothing new in this game though, far from it. This game introduces a bunch of new sprites for its numerous backgrounds and environments used to build the various levels. It makes more heavy use of animated textures than the first game did as well. The end result of this is that while it doesn't look better on a technical level, Doom 2 does give more variety to its environments. This is certainly a nice touch, and it keeps things from getting too stale. This is basically true of the sound as well. For the time, Doom did have a rather impressive soundscape, with each weapon having its own distinct sound and each enemy having their own noises that they would make as well. You know, a game's sound design was good when you could tell what was near your position just by the kind of noises that you would hear coming through your speakers. Doom 2 also had good stereo separation for the time as well. This was true of the first game, and it's true here. You can hear enemies off to your left and right when you travel throughout the levels, and it helps you locate where they are. This is old simple DOS sound, so you are not getting too deep into it with things like the quality of the audio and pitch. Having said that, the soundscape and use of stereo in this game was very impressive for 1994. The soundtrack to the first game was both brilliant and iconic. The first game used a mix of original material and what amounted to MIDI versions of hard rock and heavy metal tracks. And Doom 2 is no different. Bobby Prince returns to compose the score for this game, and he once again turns in an excellent soundtrack where each track is catchy and memorable. Fans of rock and metal will recognize a number of the tracks in this game. It contains MIDI versions of South of Heaven and Behind the Crooked Cross by Slayer, as well as This Love by Pantera, to name a few. The soundtrack is full of kick-ass MIDI metal tunes, and I would not have it any other way. How does it play then? In a word, it's just more Doom. This is a 32-level campaign released to retail stores instead of via shareware model. And it's more of everything that you loved about the first game. Every monster returns, every environment returns, every weapon returns, every sound returns. Everything that you loved about the first game is back in its sequel, and it's all just as good as you remember it being in that game. There's even more levels in this than the original release of Doom had, though the Ultimate Doom version of the original does have more levels than this. That's selling it a bit short though, isn't it? I already mentioned that it brings a wealth of new textures for a wealth of new environments to fight in. This must mean that it brings forth a wealth of new content as well, right? Well, yes, actually. Doom 2 greatly expands the roster of enemies over the original game. For starters, it adds a new zombie type called the Former Commando. They carry chain guns. These are hit-scan enemies. They can be killed easily, but they can drain your health quickly in groups. The Kago Demon now has a more dangerous brother called the Pain Elemental. These guys do not attack you directly, instead they spit out lost souls at you constantly. If you can get right up in their face and try to take them down, you can severely cut down on the number of lost souls that you have to fight against. But they can leave you dealing with quite a number of pesky enemies very quickly. The Mancubus is a brand new enemy that is a mash of flesh and machine. They are fat, so they move slowly. They have rocket launchers on each hand though. These rockets are less powerful than the ones that the Cyber Demon uses, but they do pack a powerful punch if they manage to hit you with them. Since they fire more than one rocket at a time, they can be a bit more difficult to dodge. Hell Knights are a simple pellet swap of the Baron of Hell. They're a less powerful variant of the Baron. They take less punishment than the Baron does, and they deal out less damage than they do as well. These guys should not give you too much trouble, and their attacks are just as easily avoided as the Baron. The Revenant is a fun new addition. These are skeletons with 2 shoulder-mounted rocket launchers. If you get in close, they will try to punch you, and you might want to risk this to try and dodge their swings instead of attacking them from a distance. If you attack from a distance, their rockets are homing. They will follow you everywhere you go. And you have to dodge them in such a way that they crash into a wall or another object to avoid you entirely. The Arachnotron is similar to the Spider Mastermind, but they are much smaller and much easier to kill. They have plasma guns mounted on them, so their attacks are not hit scan. They can be dodged. They should not be too much trouble to take down for experienced players, but they can be a pain in the ass in packs. Sometimes they will be paired with Spider Masterminds as well. Be careful with them. Last but certainly not least is the Archvile. These things are pure evil. While they are not that difficult to actually kill, surviving them is another matter entirely. Their attacks pack one hell of a punch. If you do not have a good amount of health and armor, they can kill you instantly with it. To make matters worse, they can resurrect enemies around them as well. If one manages to kill you, they will walk around and raise the enemies around them, so you have to fight them twice. These guys are a real game changer. When you see them, they should become your #1 priority to kill. This can be a tricky thing to do because the game likes to surround them with other enemies, leaving quite a few bad guys in between you and them. Their attacks do have a wind-up time though, which gives you time to dodge it. But the only way to dodge it is to break the line of sight with them. If the Archvile sees you, it can kill you. Good luck with these guys. They have been the bane of every Doom fan's existence since this game came out in 1994. As far as new additions to your arsenal, there is only one new weapon. That might not sound like a lot, but hear me out. The new addition is one of the greatest weapons in the history of video games as a whole. Doom 2 gives you the Doublebarrel shotgun, and it's one of the most fun to use and most satisfying weapons put into any video game ever. It might be the single best shotgun in video game history as well. This is a very early example of a weapon that needed to be reloaded. You fire both barrels at once and you need to reload every single time you take a shot. This means that your shots are spaced out. This means further that it leaves you open and vulnerable to enemy attack while you are reloading. This weapon is tricky to master. You have to get down your rhythm of dodging enemy fire in between shots and making well-placed shots with it. As expected, it uses 2 bullets instead of 1. It eats through ammo rather quickly as a result, but the trade-off is a weapon that is more than double the power of the original shotgun with a significantly larger spread. As soon as you get it, it will replace the shotgun as your go-to weapon in most situations, at least when you learn to properly use it in combat. To add further to this, the reload animation is great for its time. Nowadays it's rather simple and low frame rate, but its software nailed it with this animation back in the day. It's satisfying to watch every single time, and the sound that it makes when you fire it and reload it is so good. This weapon sounds awesome, and it's so great to fire. No one does shotguns better than id Software, and this is proof. It's not all golden, however. While there are no levels in Doom 1 that I dread reaching, I cannot say the same for Doom 2. It has a few levels that I do not like at all. Most notable of these is Map 24, The Chasm. This level sees you navigating tiny ledges that you can barely see. Falling off almost certainly means you die. It is not fun. Keep in mind that when this game was released, you could not look up or down to see exactly where you were walking. It sucks. It's not fun. I hate it. As such, the level design is not always consistent. It's mostly good though. The inconsistent level design in Doom 2 has me often debating which I like better, the first or second game. The second game has a double-barrel shotgun and plenty of new enemies and environments that are fun, but the first game does not have any levels that I flat out hate. Pick your poison, I guess. At the end of the day, Doom 2 is a great game, as you'd expect. It's not as consistent as I would like, but it has more than enough great levels that there's a lot of fun to play, and I cannot help but love it despite levels like the Chasm and the Pit. Doom 2 is a great sequel to a great game. There is an argument to be made, though, that it feels more like an expansion to the original game than it does a proper sequel. I do get that. It plays just like more Doom. It does expand on what Doom did, but it's really just more Doom. Personally, I think the campaign at 32 levels, where the first game was originally 27, it stands up as its own thing as opposed to being just an expansion to the first game. What about replay value then? Well, Doom 2 offers up the same thing as the first game. There are secret levels 31 and 32 to find. There are numerous secrets to find. Getting 100% kills and 100% secrets on every level is a real challenge, especially without a guide. It has multiple difficulties to try to master the game on as well. There are plenty of reasons to replay Doom 2. Beyond that, it offers the same multiplayer options as the first game. You can play through it co-op with your friends, and that's how we did it for this Let's Play. It's a lot of fun playing through it with friends. Doom lends itself well to co-op. Doom also coined the term deathmatch. Competitive multiplayer is very limited by modern standards, but Doom Deathmatch with a group of friends is always a joy. Boot it up and frag your friends. If you somehow never played through Doom 2, I would highly recommend playing through it. There are plenty of great source ports to get the game running better than ever on modern PCs at modern frame rates at modern resolutions. It lets you use modern controls with mouse look as well. You can get it on both Steam and GOG, as well as basically every console released since it came out in 1994. Doom 2 is a timeless classic. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Ring the bell to make sure you get future notifications from this channel. Leave a comment below. What do you think of Doom 2? Which did you like better, this game or the original Doom, and why? If you could share this video, that would help us out a lot. Talk to you later, everyone. Doom 4.